Yo, what's up, everybody? All right, so today we're here with another live stream. This one's not gonna be that long. Today we're gonna just take some time and talk about this. Apparently, there's this rumor going around, and it's floating around. So, as always, you know how these rumors are, but don't be surprised if this is actually happening, and this is actually taking place as we speak behind closed doors. Because, again, anything is possible with this studio, and the things that they do and what they say sometimes. So, don't let it fool you. Like I said, don't let it sidetrack you and all that stuff because it's just kind of bonkers on every level. And apparently, the rumor is that James Gunn and the Russo brothers are planning on doing a DC versus Marvel. That's what the whole plan is about. And apparently that came out, and it was going around in San Diego Comic-Con over the weekend, and we saw that James Gunn was out there and stuff like that. So, you have insiders that are saying that, yeah, this is happening, and they're in the talks right now. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if this does happen. And like I've been telling y'all for a while, that anything could happen. And you know in the end, James Gunn's gonna want to do what he wants to do, and I don't care what y'all tell me. He was sent by Marvel. That's it. He was sent by Marvel and Disney to probably plan all this and to do this. And I think this is what's gonna happen. And the way that the DCU is right now, and how things are going and stuff, it's gonna be wild. Yeah, it'll make so much money, but in the end, you know what I think is happening, honestly? I think personally that both companies are playing us. They're just playing all of us. This has nothing to do with, oh, what part of the fandom you like. I think they're all just playing with us. They know that this is what, fans are going to do, that they're going to talk, speculate, predict, whatever it is. So it's going to be kind of like, off the charts for them. Of course, because people are going to be buying their merchandise, and, it's just a marketing coy. And people are going to fall for it and be like, oh, yeah, this and that. But in the end, I mean, Marvel and DC, behind closed doors, I don't care what you say. They're friends. They're friends in the real world. And, probably they all go out and they have lunch together. Who knows? And it's kind of wild. It's kind of wild, but at the same time, I would not be surprised if this is what they're trying to build. And especially now that James Gunn came out and says that Peacemaker, it involves 100 multiverses. So you're confirming also that the Snyderverse is still there. You can't just erase that from existence and be like, poof, be gone. It doesn't work like that. And let's not forget, talking about a multiverse with Peacemaker. Look, we saw what they did with the Flash, and they opened the door to all the multiverses, from Adam West to Snyderverse, to the Nolanverse, to Keatonverse, Burtonverse, and all that stuff. The thing is that if you have all these 100 multiverses out there and all these worlds, that's why they wanted to call themselves Worlds of DC. It would make sense, but at the same time, it's like, okay, so what are you trying to do? You're just trying to like put together and move forward with what's working for you. It's like, it's just so messy right now. And all James Gunn has done is literally like made this little snowball into this avalanche of just a disaster and stuff like that. Peacemaker getting a season 2, so it's weird to me. Yeah, because James Gunn is in charge. So if James Gunn's in charge, he's gonna try to like approve everything that he wants to do from here until November 2026. So what, over a year? So it's like, I mean, who knows what the hell he's doing? And yeah, the DC fandom is divided. Yeah, it's very divided, and I think this is what they're trying to do. And then something else came out earlier today that I saw, that James Gunn's talking about, that he has some plans, but he doesn't want to talk about it because of copyright issues, and I guess he doesn't want nobody to take his idea or whatever. Look, I think what a lot of people are speculating is that he's trying to work on something, especially with this whole thing with Peacemaker, with the multiverses, because he doesn't have a Flash right now, And all right, the Flash is still out there, which is still, unfortunately, is Ezra Miller, So it's like, what did you do with him? Did you just erase him and just like, let's sweep him under the rug? You can't do that. That Flash is still there. He opened the multiverse. That's it. That's what it is. And then James Gunn wants to pick and choose who he wants to take for his DCU reboot. It's funny because You have characters from the DCEU. Peacemaker is from the DCEU. He gets to jump to the DCU. Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis, if it wasn't for David Ayer casting her, she wouldn't even be in this reboot, and she's moving over. Harley Quinn is also moving over because we saw it with the Suicide Squad. We don't know if she's going to be in the DCU, but she carried on, into the Suicide Squad. So if you look at it, this is something that I was thinking about. I know some fans were saying, hey, Harley can still jump over to the DCU. Yes and no. I'll tell you why. It's kind of confusing, but at the same time, okay, you would have to explain it properly, and I'll tell you why I say that. Hey, what's up? What's up? Yeah, been a while, Code. Appreciate you for watching. WB had no idea what they're doing over there. Yeah, this is what I'm just thinking, speculating. Let's look at this perspective. If Harley Quinn by Margot Robbie jumps over to DCU for whatever reason, this DCU takes place before anything that has to do with Zack Snyder's Justice League and the Nightmare Timeline. I'll tell you why. Because let's look at this. Harley Quinn, she dies in the Nightmare Timeline right before those events. Because remember, Batman was carrying her and he told Joker, he was like, yo, Harley, when she was dying in my arms, told me to take you out, to take out the Joker. And so it wouldn't connect. It would be like, all right, hold on. She died before this whole takeover, and she's alive in the Suicide Squad, but then she's alive in the DCU. It wouldn't make sense. It would contradict itself. See what I'm saying? So it's like certain characters that are from the DCEU that we already saw in the Suicide Squad jumping over to DCU. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. It's completely it's just confusing. And I think that's what James Gunn is trying to do, trying to fix all of this. But the way that he caused this mess, it's straight up like a tornado. He just did so much damage that it's all over the place, and he doesn't even know exactly where and what he's doing. It's completely a mess, and it's pretty wild. And seeing that is it's kind of concerning, but at the same time, this is what this company wants to do, and I don't know, it's just so messy that, I mean, they don't even know what the hell to do, and like I said, I'm not gonna give them ideas. I know exactly how they can fix all this mess. Easy. Everything is right before us, but I'm not gonna give them the ideas because, one, I don't work for WB. Two, they ain't paying me. And three, they're not gonna feed off my ideas for free. It's easy to build and establish both the DCU with the DCEU, connecting both of them. It's simple. It's very easy. But that's James Gunn's job. He's the CEO. He's the one that's in charge. Let him do what he has to do. But he won't be able to. And those executives and writers and all those people, they're not gonna be able to do it. This is why they're trying to move away from what was already built and established. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. It's really easy to do that. But again, this is what the studio chose to go with and stuff like that. But again, I wouldn't be surprised, if eventually that this does end up leading into a whole crossover with DC versus Marvel and stuff like that. Because I think that's what the whole plan has been all along. And of course, seeing how Disney, they love to bend the knee and they love to bring in whatever agenda they want. And WB, again, trying to still copy like what Marvel has been for like whatever 10 years or more, and they still can't get off of phase one. Superman, okay, it's making a little bit of money at the box office, but it ain't something to brag about because it's like, yo, when Zach was there, when David Ayer were there, they've made what, like 700, 800, almost $900 million at the box office, and WB considered that it wasn't good enough for them, but they're okay with 500 million right now. They're all cheering, jumping for joy, saying, oh, Superman's making 500 million at the box office. That's it. Like that's terrible. Like, you're bragging about making back what you spent. You're not even making profit. You still have to split that money with investors, shareholders, and you also have to spend that money and split it with movie theaters. This is why I'm telling y'all, if you look and you observe things, a lot of things could work on everybody's favor. And I'll tell you right now, because with this whole split that WB is going to be going within their own company, like, for example, what is it that they're gonna do? The streaming service, and then they're gonna be doing whatever's cable and TV. Like, okay, that's fine. Separate the two. Now, this is what I'm thinking is going to happen. Now, I'm just speculating. Maybe the DCU moves forward with James Gunn and what they're doing, and they're seeing that it's not gonna work. But who knows what the hell's gonna come from that? And then later they want to do whatever the hell they want. Whatever. Let's look at the other side. If Comcast acquires HBO Max, there gonna be a big win right here, and I'll tell you why. Because as we continue to move forward, unfortunately, I know some of you don't like the future is going to be digital, but that's the truth. That's the reality. We're seeing it. The big pioneer is Netflix. They're the experts when it comes to streaming. Right after them, Disney Plus. Right after them, we have Paramount, and we're seeing what's happening with Paramount and Sundance, or what is it, whatever it is. They're merging. So, is there trouble with these studios? Hell yeah, there is. So one way that they could be doing is like, you know what? Let's try to work together. Now, let's look at, both sides, the DCU and the DCEU. The DCU with James Gunn can continue, how they're doing it right now. Like whatever it is that they're doing and they think is working. And HBO Max can be acquired by Comcast, and Comcast could be like, you know what? We know that there's a huge demand. These toys just got funded from McFarlane Toys, so, and it's still making money. That's crazy. In 5 days, they already reached the goal of 400,000, and it's growing. It's still going. So that's telling the studio, yo, these fans are willing to spend money. What if we do exclusive? We restore the Snyderverse on HBO Max. Instead of it going to Netflix, instead of it going to whatever other third party, we keep it in-house. And they restore the Snyderverse via HBO Max. And they're like, you know what? We'll have subscribers, people that are going to pay, and we'll be able to cut the middle person, which is the movie theaters. They don't have to share the money and the profits, and they're gaining subscribers. You see what I'm doing there? You can continue your DCU with James Gunn, theatrical, with all those movies and stuff like that. Go for it. And you want to keep the Snyderverse on HBO Max, and they could get away with it. Why? Because HBO Max, they allow R-rated movies. That's what they cater with the HBO Max. Everything most of the time is R-rated. So they could do a whole bunch of things that they would not be able to do in the movie theaters. You want to have the movie theaters for PG-13? Go for it. You want to do your thing? Go for it. You want to have the Snyderverse, which is more dark, greedy, and the way that Zack had it, but on exclusive on HBO Max, and like if it was a Netflix, yo, it's right there. It's a done deal. Yo, we can all have our cake and eat it. And I'm going to tell you straight up, as a Snyder fan, I would love that. I would love that. I would be like, you know what? Let James do whatever the hell he wants to do with, what they're doing right now. I don't care. As long as they give us what we want. Hell, I would be good. Not in cartoon format or animated. No, it has to be live action. But I want it to be exclusive on HBO Max. That would be amazing. You imagine that? We got the Snyder Cut on HBO Max. And you imagine we get the Snyderverse back as movies, a series. You could do so much on HBO Max. That's your own streaming service. Would the studio consider doing that? Yes. Now, can it happen? It's a possibility. You have to also look at it. And if that happens, if Comcast does acquire HBO Max, WB will have no say in the end, because WB would not be part of that. Yes, they own HBO Max, but if Comcast acquires HBO Max and say, hey, look, we're the ones giving you the money. We're the investors now. We tell you what to do. We call the shots around here now. What do you think, that HBO Max isn't going to do what Comcast wants? Of course. Comcast wants money. HBO Max wants money. The company WB needs money. So they're going to need capital for money to keep on coming in, to keep on funding their DCU. See what I'm saying? So it's a win-win for everybody, because, okay, cool. You're going to give us the Snyderverse exclusive on HBO Max? Let's go. I'm down with that. And then you want to keep your DCU and whatever it is that you're doing on theatrical, and whatever it is that you're doing PG-13, go for it. I don't care. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in what they want to do with, with the Snyderverse, if they do plan on bringing it back and stuff like that. That's another alternative, and especially now that James Gunn is saying that there's over 100 worlds. Come on. You can't just ignore the Snyderverse. You can't. You cannot ignore it. You can't just be like, oh, it doesn't exist. How the hell is not going to exist if you're talking about 100 worlds, universes, whatever the hell you want to call it? out there. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, all right, a lot of things can come from this, and I don't know. That's just me, you know. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy, you know, and Comcast threw a gun out the door, Uncle Phil style. That would be nuts. That would be nuts, though. But I can see a possibility like that happening, you know. And if they want to do whatever the hell they want to do with James Gunn and do their crossover, that's fine. Do your thing. I don't care. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in you know, the company WB. You know, if they're gonna branch off and do whatever the hell they're gonna do, yo, if Comcast acquires HBO Max, this is just me speculating, and they want to continue the Snyderverse, you know, because remember they asked specifically for Zack Snyder and David Ayer, and they want to do DC alternative content for HBO Max. There could be a huge win right there. That's what I'm telling y'all. That whole thing with the sell to Netflix, I'm not down with it. I am not down with it. I would love for it to happen, but realistically, it's just not good for business. If you run a business and you understand business, it just wouldn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. That's like going to Disney. Hey, Disney, how about you sell some of your characters over to this streaming service? They're going to be like, the hell, we're going to sell it. We're going to do it ourselves and make money. That's exactly how HBO can be. The only thing is, HBO, they you know, and Comcast, it's always going to be about money. They're going to have to come up with something and say, you know what, where and how can we all make money together? Because now you have, you know, licensing rights of, you know, streaming service. And we already saw the headache that happened with Christopher Nolan when they put out that movie. I forgot which one. I think it was Oppenheimer or something. And then during, you know, the time when they released it, and then he left. He went to Universal. So, and let's not forget, Christopher Nolan is still at Universal. And you think there haven't been talks of Christopher Nolan saying to the people of Comcast, I mean, the people from Universal, which is owned by Comcast, and like, hey, what about the Snyderverse? People still want that. And they're like, yo, we would love to, but we have to come up with a way so it doesn't probably affect what they're doing with this reboot, but keeping something separate on the same timeline, but apart from the things that are happening. And the Snyderverse can still continue. See what I'm saying? Like, all they have to do is just, all right, an alternative route. Let's do it. If James Gunn is doing an alternative route right now and picking and choosing who he wants, what do you think? That he can't do the same thing over? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, let's do it. I say that would be the best route, and I would say that that would be the best option. As a fan, I'll be like, I'm down with that. You know, like, shoot, in the end, that's all I care about. I just want to see these characters come back with the same, you know, cast and actors, actresses. And some of you might be like, oh, but with this whole thing with the reboot, and it would work, because think about this. Look, I'm gonna be real with you. Okay, Jason Momoa is gonna be playing Lobo. So what? Who cares? That's fine. He's already done in the Snyder cut. His character dies. He's done. Darkseid took him out. That's it. Now he's replaced by Mara. That's what I want to see. The Nightmare timeline. Let's pick up where Zack left off. We got Cyborg. We have Joker. We have Batman. We have who else? The Flash. That team that's still there. That's what I want to see. I want to see it focus and continue with what Zack already had built and where things left off in that epilogue scene. Aquaman is done. So he's over there doing his thing at the DCU with James Gunn. All right, cool. More kudos to you. I don't care. You're no longer part of this universe. Your character's done. It's been replaced by Mara. So I want to see where and what Zack is going to take these characters to the next level in this new timeline, which is, you know, from the Nightmare timeline. Because if you think about it, Batman versus Superman, when Bruce has the nightmare, you know, literally the nightmares of the future events that are going to happen with Darkseid, and now we're actually in that timeline where Darkseid has already taken over. Superman is under his control. Lois Lane is done. Yo, it's like, okay, there's so many things that they can do. And realistically, those type of things, they would not be able to get away with if they were to put in the theaters. Because, of course, WB's going to be like, oh, no, it's too dark. It's R-rated. We can't go with that. Yo, you can get away with that in HBO Max. You could do so many things on HBO Max that it's like, it just opens the Pandora box to like so many things that it's like, okay, damn, I see we could do much more with this, you know, like, and we'll be able to enjoy it even more. So there's a lot of game changers on this, you know, and it's like they can do everything on HBO Max and nobody has to interfere. Like they could literally say, hey, Zack, do what you got to do. The same with David Ayer. Do what you got to do. make it R-rated. We don't care as long as we're making money. That's all that matters. They're gonna be like, we want to make money. Here's the keys. Do what you got to do, and let them run the show on HBO Max exclusive. You're gonna have people signing up. You're gonna have people paying, and most of all, people are still gonna be talking and watching it, and they know it. And then they're gonna be able to profit and have more money because now they're cutting away the theaters, and they're making revenue by subscribers. They're gaining subscribers, and now more for them in the sense of, money wise. And then we, the fans, we get to enjoy. So the ones that are like, oh, I like both, whatever, you get, eat your cake and have it. The same way, like, oh, I only want the Snyderverse. Yo, if it's exclusive on HBO Max, I'm telling you straight up, I'm signing up. I'm signing up to that just because of that. Like when the Snyder Cut came out, and James Gunn wants to continue whatever he's doing right now with his DCU, and none of the universes from the DCEU and the DCU have to ever cross in this situation. And who knows? Who knows? That's just me speculating. You get what I'm saying? What's up? What's up, everybody? Sean, mommy, I see all of y'all. I appreciate y'all for watching too. It's just crazy, But at the same time, there's a big possibility of things that can come from this. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why you don't see me talking about the whole sell, because I'm not down with it. And like, they're not at the option and at the point where they have to sell yet. When that time comes, which I highly doubt, unfortunately, then we'll talk about that and focus on that. But right now, the main goal would be just getting the Snyderverse restored. And if it has to be at HBO Max through Comcast, if that's the big thing that's coming, hell, I'm down with it. I'm rolling with that. Like, as a fan, I'll be like, shit, I'll take it. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, it's better than an animation. I don't want no animated type of movie with or cartoon with the Snyderverse. Hell no. Hell no. We need it to be live action. And and you better believe that these actors and actresses would be willing to come back. They would be, because this would be on some straight up Game of Thrones, type of level, where it's like, yo, you could do so much with the Snyderverse. There's still so much to explore. There's still so much that you can explain and connect, and it doesn't even have to touch with anything of what James Gunn is doing. It has nothing to do with that. It's its own thing on this streaming service. And from there, yo, the possibilities are endless. It would be nuts. It would be nuts. What do y'all think about that? Because I think that would be a good, solution to all of this. And at the same time, instead of dividing the fandom more than what it is, yo, you're kind of uniting it, because you have the fans that are like, yo, I like both DCU and DCEU. Like, I see the comments. I see when y'all be posting. I'm not one of them. I like only what Zach was doing with David Ayer with this whole cinematic universe thing. But I'm just not down with what James Gunn is doing. But could they win the audience like this? Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah, they can do it. And it's about uniting, like, the fans everywhere, because it's like the fans are so divided right now. It's like, it's nuts. It's nuts, and it's like, it's pretty wild, and I just want everybody, of course, in the perfect world, to enjoy it. But it's just because how WB is and what they've done. For them getting in the way, they've brought this upon themselves. And look at how, what a disaster this company has become. That's what I'm saying. There could be a possibility. There could be a lot of things that like I said, things are going to keep on shifting, and they're going to keep on changing from here until November 2026, when James Gunn's contract is going to expire. And let's see what happens, what can come from this. And who knows? Everything is just speculation right now. I'm just right now speculating. I'm not saying that it's official, that it's legit. I'm just speculating. But that rumor is the one that's going around right now, that eventually James Gunn wants to build up, he's in talks with the Russo brothers to build up a crossover. And it's starting to kind of make sense, because let's speculate and look at this other point of view. Why are they delaying Avengers Doomsday? Why are they pushing back Secret Wars? James Gunn just came out recently and said that he has a big secret that he doesn't want to reveal and say to the people yet, because of copyright stuff. I have a feeling they're building up something already where the crossover is going to happen. At one point is eventually going to happen. And that's what I think they're working on right now. And notice how the Russo brothers, when they were talking with Zach in that interview over that slice of pizza, they kept on trying to they were fishing for answers. oh, Zach, what would you do? How would you do this? And blah blah blah. Zach didn't give him ideas, and I love that. I love how Zach kept it cool. He was chill. He was eating that pizza, and he was like, I ain't giving you my ideas, but I would probably do this and I would probably do that. But he didn't give him no solid answer. And that's what I like. I like that. That's how you do it. You can't give them ideas because they stole your ideas and they ran away with it. And because you can't come and tell me Avengers Endgame is not a copy of what the original plans of Zack Snyder were. It was, because we know Batman was going to die in Justice League. And what did Marvel do? Oh, that's right. They took out Iron Man. But then now they want to bring him back. It's not coincidence. It's crazy, and we know that James Gunn's a liar, so anything is possible, but who knows what the hell's gonna happen with this company and stuff like that. What's up to everybody watching? Appreciate y'all for tuning in and all this good stuff. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's some interesting times that we're seeing all this stuff, and just looking at the moment how this industry, with this entertainment side of the business is showing and things like that. So who knows what's gonna come from this, but this is a infinite saga, multiverse saga, mutant saga, Marvel versus DC saga. There's too many sagas, like too much. I can't support James Gunn. I'm good. Restore Snyderverse. Yeah, hell yeah, me neither. I don't support James Gunn, honestly. But if you look at it from two point of views, like it could be a win for us, because if we have the Snyderverse exclusive on HBO Max, yo, I could get back, and back that up and be like, you know what? Hell yeah, let's go. We're finally getting something. That's all I care about. Let them go ahead and do whatever the hell they're doing with their DCU. I don't give two damns about that. I just want the Snyderverse to continue and pick up where things left off. I want to see Ben Affleck back as Batman. I want to see Henry Cavill. Hell, I want to see The Rock back as freaking Shazam. I mean, not Shazam, Black Adam. And I want to see Zachary Levi under the leadership of Zack Snyder as Shazam. I know he could redeem himself, and all of this is just the right guidance and stuff like that. That's how I see it. You see, they could do so much. There could be so much that could be done and stuff like that, and the possibilities are just endless when it comes to that. Who knows? Who knows what can happen and stuff like that. But yeah, this is some pretty interesting stuff. And if you've seen it, the McFarlane Toys thing, it got funded yesterday. That's crazy, and it's still making money. So the hunger is still there for the DCEU, for the Snyderverse. People are still backing it up. It's done. They already fulfilled the goal of 400,000. It's already past those numbers, and this is on a 30-day mark. We made history again. We won. That's it. The Snyderverse sells. Period. It sells. It makes money. This studio needs to realize, yo, there's money right here. This is literally diamonds, gold, whatever the hell you want to, the most expensive gem in the world. That's what the Snyderverse is. It's literally just sitting there waiting for them to bank and make money off of. But again, the studio is just so stubborn, so hard-headed, that they rather just stick with their pride and their ego and be like, nah, we're not gonna do it. We'd rather lose money instead of make money. But then they want to go back and try to milk us, knowing that we're gonna support and they're gonna be able to get funded again through the Snyderverse. That's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts, yeah, hell yeah, our message will be heard. They're hearing us, they're seeing us, they know what's up. It sells, but WB are stubborn and they'll never listen. Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with you. But if Comcast comes into play and they buy out just the division of HBO Max, yo, I think we got a banger right there. I think we got a banger, and it's going to be a hit, and it's going to be a success, because they could do so much on that streaming service. And remember, Comcast owns Universal. So what do you think they could do? They could put more content on there, just not DC. They could do stuff with Jurassic World. They could do stuff with every other things that they have too, exclusive on HBO Max. You imagine that? They could do the Fast Saga as a mini series. They could do so many things. They could do, the possibilities are endless if they were to do that. If they just want to acquire that, they're like, yo, screw everything else. We just want your streaming service. If I was in that position and I was on Comcast team, I'll be like, I don't care about what you're doing. I just care about your streaming service. That's what I'm coming after. That's what I want, because I know I could build off of that. It's already there. All you need is content. DC doesn't have the content right now. WB doesn't have the content. Comcast has the content. Comcast has the money. Comcast doesn't have that debt. See what I'm doing there? It could be a massive win with that. It would be completely. Yeah, Saffron's supposed to be his contract's gonna be up soon. I think it's sometime. I think it's sometime in October, if I'm correct, September, October, something like that. So let's see if they end up renewing it, which I highly doubt. I think they're just gonna let it expire, and I think then after that it's with James Gunn, because I remember Peter Safran came on board first, and then he brought on James Gunn. So they know their sneaky ways and how they've been doing things and stuff like that. So that would be pretty interesting to see, and who knows what the hell's gonna come from this overall. But yeah, so yeah, man. That's something I wanted to talk about. Like I said, it wasn't gonna be a long live stream. I just wanted to talk about that real quick because it was interesting that I came across that, and I was like, oh, okay, so I see what they're trying to do and trying to build up and stuff like that. So they said WB will split from Discovery. Yeah, because yeah, the Discovery ain't working for them. So and in the end, it's all about money and stuff like that. Bro, I'm gonna talk to Patrick, but David, The Rock to do what you said. That would be dope. If you have connections, if you have ways to talk to them, do it. Let them know. And if you got plugs out there, yo, hit me up. Like hit me up with a plug too. Anybody, if you got direct plugs and stuff like that, yo, be like, yo, recommend C as the director. He got some good ideas for y'all that will make money and stuff like that. Gunn hasn't said anything about Superman 2. Exactly. He hasn't said anything about it, so that tells you everything too with what things are going. I'm just telling you, I have a feeling, just speculating, that WB is just speculating. I mean, not speculating. They're just watching and they're seeing, okay, the fans actually came through for Zack Snyder, and they really spoke with their wallets, and they're buying this product, and this is just a toy. Imagine they put out and they announced Justice League 2 from Zack Snyder. Yo, the internet will be wild. Or they just say, hey, we're releasing the air cut. Yo, that's it. It's over. They won. That's it. That's all they need to do. But they won't know until they actually do it. Yeah, for sure, man. Let me know, Son of Thunder, if you got something. Just all I say is just plug me in. If you got some type of connect, one way, shape, or form. How are these marks celebrating that James Gunn Superman will make more than Man of Steel this week? Yeah, they're not. They're just pretending. They're lying. They're just trying to fabricate. They're just trying to build this whole inflated number so people could be like, oh, damn, that's the #1 movie. Let me go watch it. Notice how all these shills are not talking about Jurassic World Rebirth. Jurassic World Rebirth is literally past 700 million in a month. That's nuts. That's completely insane. But then they want to glorify and put James Gunn on a pedestal like he's the savior, right, of the industry. Oh, James Gunn's the savior. No, you're not. You're a clown. You just barely made back what you spent on this whole reboot. It's ridiculous how these James Gunn cultists are. They are all the same, and they always have an excuse. Look at how ridiculous that they are. I posted something on Twitter, about my comic that I'm working, and this weekend I'm be showing y'all the name and stuff like that. And people are already like calling me out saying, yo, your comic ain't shit, you ain't shit, it's DOA, wallet's closed. I'm like, oh, they got triggered, and it's like they're all on freaking Twitter, like freaking calling me out. I'm like, yo, this is crazy, it's like, yo, I feel honored. I actually feel honored that these shows are actually calling me out. I love it. I'm like, whoa, damn, like little old me. Let's go. And I put up a post saying straight up, yo, if you were offended and you weren't down with what Zack Snyder did, guess what? Zack Snyder's the blueprint, and I'm building my universe, based on that, in the sense of that's my inspiration. That's why now these James Gunn cultists and all these shills are coming after me on Twitter. And I love it. Because that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Not that I want them to come after me, but I just want them to see, hey, look, you clowns don't admit that Zack Snyder is the blueprint. I'm admitting it. I'm building my universe, but Zack Snyder's the inspiration. That's what I'm building it off of. You get what I'm saying? So he motivated me to where I'm going to be going with the ideas and stuff like that I'm working on and stuff like that. But yeah, it is what it is, and we will see what's going to happen and stuff. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all for watching. I'm going to let y'all go. Something else does come up, we will talk about it and stuff. So I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace. Thanks for watching.